Hi and welcome back. About 4 months ago, my friend Claire from the Honest channel uploaded a video in which she interviewed Galanin, a New York-based scientist and founder of the skincare company Adipeau. In that video, Claire and Ivan talked about facial fat loss, the reasons behind facial fat loss, and the possibility to restore this lost facial fat using the cream Ivan created called Adipeau. Claire's video became quite popular, and I think it shows that many of us, as we are maturing, are struggling with loss of facial fat, myself included. I have definitely lost quite a bit of facial fat, especially in this area right here as I am aging. And just recently I have tried to address this loss of facial fat by getting some sculpture treatments, which I have made several videos on. I will link all of those down below if you have not seen them. And pretty soon I will make an updated video on my experience with sculpture. But when I saw Claire's video, I was right away intrigued and I ordered some Adipeau. I know many of you did as well. So in today's video, I want to share my experience with using Adipeau. I have been using this for 3 months, morning and night. I'm going to show you some before and after pictures and let you know, do I think this actually does what it promises to do, which again is to restore some lost facial fat. Today's video is in collaboration with my friend Clare from the Honest channel, and the Honest channel is the perfect channel name for Claire's channel. Clare does really great, in-depth and very honest product reviews, as well as videos on overall health and wellness. Claire and I started using Adipeau around the same time. So Claire is also going to review this today in her video. So after this video, make sure to head over to Claire's channel and check out her review. I can't wait to see her before and after pictures and learn how this is working for her. As I said, I have been using this for 3 months now, morning and night. As I also mentioned, I did have some sculpture treatments. Sculpture is not a filler, but a collagen stimulator, which eventually leads to some extra volume. However, I did make sure that my last sculpture session was long before using Adipeau. So I did make sure my last session came to fruition before using Adipeau. So in case there is any extra volume, there wouldn't be any confusion whether it is from the sculpture or the Adipeau. I also have not been using my Maysama Green Rooibos Breast Serum for the last 3 months since using Adipeau, because if you have not seen the video I made with Beth Sanderson, the founder of Maysama, in which again we talk about facial fat loss and the possibility to restore this lost facial fat using rooibos. A fascinating video. If you have not seen it, I will link it down below. In that video, Beth shared a study in which rooibos was applied to aging adipose cells, aging fat cells, in a petri dish. And the rooibos was capable of restoring these aging fat cells. Now this was an in vitro study, but again, I didn't want any confusion in case there is extra volume. I didn't want us to have to guess, is it from the Maysama Green Rooibos Breast Serum or the Adipeau? So for the last 3 months, I have not been using my Maysama Green Rooibos Breast Serum. That is a mouthful. Again, just to make sure there wouldn't be any confusion. Now, like I said, I'm going to share some before and after pictures with you and let you know, do I think this actually does what it promises to do. But before I do so, I had some questions on this product. So did some of you. So I invited Ivan to come on this channel to answer them. Thank you so much for being here, Ivan, and answering some questions.
Of course.
Ivan, the first question I have for you, I saw you on my friend Claire's channel and I was immediately intrigued. And then I went on your website and I looked at the ingredients and I couldn't figure out what ingredient was doing what you promised the product does. And I'm not sure if you're allowed to tell us this, but can you tell us?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're completely transparent. In fact, if you look at the new science section, we've updated the science section in the last month. It clarifies also about the ingredients. Unlike other beauty companies, we don't have a proprietary composition. And really the reason we don't, and we can talk freely is we have a very broad patent application on the composition. So really the two active ingredients are, with respect to the dermal adipocytes, are the safflower seed oil and the Campharia parviflora extract, or black ginger. And these are balancing each other. So on the one hand, the safflower seed oil has linoleic acid and oleic acid, and these are very weak adipogenic agents. So they enter the cell, go into the nucleus, and hit a receptor called the PPAR gamma nuclear receptor, and it triggers a transcription program that converts immature fat cells into mature fat cells. And Campharia parviflora complements that adipogenic activity by increasing the number of PPAR gamma targets that are available for the safflower seed oil. So initially, that was the idea. Those two would work together by stimulating adipogenesis. But what I didn't realize when we made the formula was that Campharia parviflora had a really important other activity, which is to reduce the size of the adipocytes. It actually causes them to release lipid, making them smaller. And why is this important? And this is really something that no one had ever thought to do, but it's really critical because when fat cells get too big, they stop promoting adipogenesis. And in fact, without the black ginger, this wouldn't work because the safflower seed oil would really act more on the mature fat cells that were already there. They would take up the lipids from the safflower seed oil, get bigger, and so you'd see more volume in the face, but it would be from increasing the size of the fat cells. And it would be also a saggy volume, not a strong volume that you see with the Adipeau face cream. And people look at it and they say, I don't understand how this could possibly work. It has the only ingredient that's unusual is the black ginger. And we always say, yes, that's really the secret ingredient because it complements the activity of the oil. Otherwise, it would really, it wouldn't work.
I know my viewers, some of them are just going to purchase some black ginger and mix that in their lotions.
I mean, if your viewers want to purchase black ginger, we're all for it, right? We want people to succeed, and we're very open, and it will help definitely if they use just the black ginger. And the only thing that's really important about the cream is that the black ginger combined with the safflower seed oil is able to go down the hair follicles. It's suspended in a way that it travels with the safflower seed oil down the hair follicle, and at the bottom of the hair follicle are the dermal fat cells, both mature and immature.
Since you just brought up the hair follicles, you have us apply this cream in a certain way. So it's not applied as a regular cream, massaged in. Talk a little bit about why you want to apply it differently and how it is applied.
I'm just going to show you 1 second, do a live demonstration. So you see I'm finger painting it on, and we'll see during the course, this will become absorbed by the hair follicles. When you rub it in, when you rub a cream in, you're pushing it into the stratum corneum, which is the brick-like structure on the outside of the skin. It's intended to keep things out of the skin, and it's very effective. It's very hard to push things all the way through the stratum corneum. But when you're using, for example, if you're using a retinol, which needs to act on the epidermis, it's most effective when you rub it into the skin, and then it goes in the stratum corneum and doesn't have the chance to flow down the hair follicle. And that's we actually have started telling people who are using retinol and Retin-A that they should apply it that way and then use the Adipeau, because the Retin-A is actually anti-adipogenic. So if it's allowed to go down the hair follicle, it will, to some extent, counter the activity of the cream.
Okay, so let me see if I get that wrong. So you're telling, if I get that right, so you're telling people you want to massage in the Retin-A, but then apply the Adipeau as like a mask and just let it sink in, correct?
Exactly. That's right.
I'm still a bit skeptical because it still has to go through the stratum corneum, even if you're applying it this way. So how does it make its way through the stratum corneum applied like this?
Well, the hair follicle is like is this channel through the stratum corneum. There is no stratum corneum over the hair follicle. It has a channel that's there. It's a pore. That's the definition of the hair follicle is in a pore, and so they're basically holes in the stratum corneum where the hair follicle goes all the way down to the lower dermis.
Great to know. Ivan, I have to be honest with you. I have been using the cream now for 3 months, morning and night. There are times when I look in the mirror and think, yes, this is absolutely working. And then there are times when I look in the mirror and think, no, it's not doing anything. So my question is, could I be doing something wrong? First of all, I have been applying it like this. I am applying it over my retin-A and sometimes over other serums as well, because the cream is quite thick. And I feel if I apply the serums afterwards, obviously they're not going to be getting through it. So first of all, am I maybe applying too many things underneath? Could there be something in my lifestyle that could maybe not make it work? What could be the reason? Because I have gotten emails from viewers saying, this cream is amazing. I can see such a difference. But what could be the reason that at times I think there is actually a difference and in other times I don't think there is?
Two things. It's completely normal to think that way. I thought the same way for when I was developing the cream and I was testing it on myself. I would say, wow, one day I would say it's absolutely working. And the next day I would say, I'm not sure it's working. So that's completely normal. And we're not used to creams having such a meaningful impact on one's appearance. So I think it's the natural skepticism. But I think in terms of when I look at your face and when I look at you, I mean, I can tell that you exercise a lot. And exercise is really suppressive of adipogenesis. So if you look at Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, if you look at his face, it's a classic illustration of how exercise affects fat regeneration in the face. He has no fat in his face. And if you look at his lower face, his skin is actually not tight. It's weak. And you see these folds in his lower face. And that's because what happens is the remaining fat cells get so big because you need fat in the face. It has an important functional role, many roles. What happens when you have fewer fat cells, the remaining ones get bigger, and that weakens the skin. I look at your face and it's a classic exerciser's face. You have a little bit of what we call gym grooves under the eyes, but it's not bad. And then you have basically loss of fat around the mouth. And this is a particular area where people lose fat because the dynamic facial movements are also suppressing adipogenesis. The other thing to keep in mind is when you have very severe depletion, it takes time. So in those cases, because you need fat to build fat. So fat cells are themselves adipogenic. So when you have fat cells, they actually recruit additional fat cells. What we saw in our clinical study is we had a couple of subjects who were very depleted. One was a former dancer. She had very severe depletion here and here. And what we saw is that her appearance didn't improve like a straight line. So the first 3 months were flat, and we didn't see much of an improvement, maybe a little bit. But then the next 3 months were increased, and then the last 9 months, we see an acceleration. And that's because once you start to regenerate your fat cells, they actually do the work. And people ask us, do I need to use the cream forever? Will the effects go away if I stop using it? And we say no, and no, because by supporting your skin's own regeneration, you're building your own capacity to regenerate. And that doesn't go away when you stop using the cream.
That's good to know. So basically, two things. I have to wait a little bit longer, and I have to decide between my butt and my face. Sounds like
no, you don't. That's the thing is you don't have to decide. You have to just be cognizant of the fact that the exercise is having this impact, and then you have to actually do maybe some other things. So things that we recommend is a protein-rich diet. It's very important for sustaining regeneration. Two is we recommend derma rolling with a very shallow derma roller because that boosts blood flow through the skin and that supports the adipogenesis. And then the other thing, the acute effect of exercise is inflammatory. And that inflammation is what's suppressing the adipogenesis. We've been researching this because we want to give advice to people who love to exercise. Exercise is fantastic. And so one of the things that we've come upon is cold exposure post-exercise. It's a very effective anti-inflammatory mechanism.
So taking a cold shower afterwards.
Taking a cold shower afterwards will really help to subdue the inflammation. And I'll provide you a link to the study that demonstrated this.
Now, as far as applying the cream, like I said, I often put maybe 1 or 2 serums, then my retin-A, and then the cream. Is that okay, or is that going to hinder the absorption of the cream?
It's okay. We did our clinical study. We allowed people to use whatever they were using. So we asked them to tell us what they were using, but they could use 6 serums. Some people had 6 things they were using. Other people had 1 thing that they were using. And we've gotten a bit of pushback from academic reviewers because they say, well, you didn't prohibit people from using their other products. So how do you know that the gains that you're seeing are from the cream? And we say, well, no 2 people have the same baseline regimen. And so it's unlikely, very unlikely, that the background products were contributing to the efficacy. But it's good. I mean, in a way, that the fact that we did the study in a real world context gives us confidence to say to people, we don't think that your other products, even if theoretically they could interfere, we don't think that practically that they're interfering.
Okay, that's great to know, because people have reached out to me and said, I heard this interferes with it, and I heard this interferes with it. So technically none of it should interfere.
People are very black and white. And I think this reflects, one of the biggest issues that we're dealing with is lack of confidence. People get so much information that they don't have the ability to really think for themselves. And so that's really what we see as the benefit of appearing on shows like yours. We want to give people confidence to read the information, read the literature for themselves, and make decisions.
I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you providing the scientific literature.
No, we have a couple of people who have made their own versions, and we're very supportive. Definitely.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
I've heard you say, first of all, that the cream doesn't do much right here on the hollowness of the temples. But also, I remember, I think you said that, or maybe I've heard somebody else say that it's not a good idea to apply it all over the face, that you only want to apply it on the places that you actually want some volume gained. Is that correct?
The reason I'm cautious about the temples is because we don't have any data with the temples. I don't have any firsthand data, firsthand information that I can talk about. Now, the great thing about the cream is that you can apply it all over your face, and it will only support regeneration where it's needed. How is that? People ask me all the time, how is the cream so smart? The cream isn't smart. The cream adds 2 signals to what the dermal fat cells are already getting. One is an adipogenic signal, and one is a toning signal, a lipolytic signal. Now, the skin cells are getting dozens and hundreds of signals already. And so unless the majority of those signals are telling the cells to regenerate, they're not going to do it. Because regeneration, as you can imagine, is a very tightly controlled process by the skin. Our appearance doesn't change from 1 week to the next because regeneration is very, very tightly controlled. A lot of things have to happen for a cell to convert from immature state to mature state. And the cream just is 2 additional signals in this process. So it's not definitive. So in those areas where the cells are already oriented in that direction, you'll see an increased regeneration. But in those other areas where it's leaning this way, you won't see it.
Okay, so you can apply it all over your face, but it's kind of a waste.
You can apply it. You can apply it. And the other thing is, it's not like a volume producer. It's just supporting the regeneration. So it's not going to change your appearance. It's just going to help you get back what you already have.
Okay. Now, since you mentioned it's not a volume producer, somebody asked me, can I put it on my lips? Will it plump my lips? Obviously, there are no hair follicles on the lips, so I would think that that is a drawback to applying it there.
It's true. There are no hair follicles on the lips, but we actually have people who have had really good results with the lips.
So I hope Ivan answering these questions was helpful. As you could tell, I was quite skeptical about the application process. So finger painting the product on or applying it like a mask rather than rubbing it in and that bypassing the stratum corneum, I was quite skeptical about that one. But aside from the scientific literature Ivan provided, which I will link down below, I also found some studies showing that indeed there is such thing as product penetration through hair follicles. So I am no longer skeptical, and that is of course how I have applied the product for the last 3 months. So as you can see in this picture, I take quite a bit of product, apply it under my eyes or on my gym grooves, as Ivan calls them, above my lip and on my lower cheeks. I do so, and I have been doing so for the last 3 months, twice a day. In the morning, I do so first thing in the morning. So I get up, I brush my teeth, and I apply the product. Then I take my supplements, I take Sam for a walk, I exercise. After all of that, which takes about 2 or 3 hours, I shower, wash my face, and do my skincare. Now, the reason I do it that way first thing in the morning is that this product is quite heavy. I'm going to show you. So while it sinks in or gets absorbed through the hair follicles, it is quite heavy and leaves quite a bit of sheen. And I also feel that it might be occlusive. So I feel that if I apply products afterwards, they would have a hard time actually penetrating through. Now, Ivan does say that you can wipe the excess product off, but still, I would rather just apply it in the way I have been applying it, give it about 2 or 3 hours to hopefully do its magic, then wash it off and do my regular skincare. At night, what I do is I wash my face, I apply my growth factor, my retin A, then this, in the way I showed you in the picture. I let it sink in for at least an hour, if not longer. I don't wipe off the extra product. At night, I don't mind that it's a bit heavy, but I then apply a moisturizer on top, since I only put it in certain areas. So that is how I have been using this product for the last 3 months. Now, aside from this being a bit heavy, this does have quite a strong smell of cucumber, which doesn't bother me, but it is worth mentioning. Now, before I show you my before and after pictures, I have to give you a disclaimer. I am not a professional photographer, and it is quite challenging under normal circumstances to get the lighting quite right, the angle quite right. However, since using this in the last 3 months, we have moved 5 times. We have lived in 4 different hotel rooms and in this temporary housing apartment. So because of that, it is impossible for me to get the lighting, and again, the angle would be easier, but to get the lighting quite right. But I tried to do the best I could. So with that said, let's take a look at my before and after pictures. So looking at the before picture, I can definitely see that I am sunken in under the eyes and that the skin under my eyes is quite thin and almost a bit translucent. Versus in the after picture, I do think it is a bit less translucent and also looks a tiny bit less sunken in. Now again, I apologize about the lighting. The after picture is definitely a bit darker than the before picture. So it is hard to say, is it the lighting? But I do see a tiny difference in the after picture under my eyes. Then when we look above my lips, I have to say I can see my vertical lines above my lip right here, a bit more in the before picture than the after picture. However, again, I think that might just be lighting. As far as volume, I really don't see any difference above the lip in the after picture versus the before picture. And then when we go to my lower cheeks, I think that they are still just as sunken in the after picture than they are in the before picture. So I don't really see any difference in the lower cheek area. So the only difference I can possibly see is a slight difference under the eyes. So let's zoom in under the eyes. And again, I do think that there is a slight difference under the eyes. I definitely think that in the before picture, I have a bit more translucency and I am a bit more sunken in than I am in the after picture. And then let's zoom in on my lips. Again, I do think that my vertical lip lines in the before picture on the left side look a bit more pronounced than they look in the after picture. However, I honestly think that is lighting, because if you look at the after picture on the right side, the vertical lip lines are just as pronounced as they are in the before picture. As far as some extra volume above the lip, I can't see any difference yet. Now, so far I have not been putting the cream on my lips, but I'm going to start now and maybe there will be a difference in 3 months from now. But again, if you look at my lower cheeks, I think there is no difference in the after picture compared to the before picture. And then one more time, let's look at my under eye area from a different angle. And again, I do think I see a slight difference in the after picture. I do think there is, again, a bit less translucency, a tiny bit more fullness, and even my under eye line is not quite as pronounced in the after picture as it is in the before picture. So these are my before and after pictures after using Adipeau for 3 months. There might be a tiny difference under my eyes, but as far as above the lip and right here, I can't see any difference. If you saw a difference in my before and after pictures, or if you can see a difference on camera, please let us know down below. But so far I can't say I am wowed by Adipeau. However, Ivan did say it might take longer than 3 months to see a difference, especially as he mentioned earlier, if somebody is severely depleted. And I do think, unfortunately, I do have some severe depletion in my lower cheek area. So I'm going to continue to use this. In fact, I still have an almost full container right here and 2 full containers in my drawer. I went a bit overboard. Even though I used quite a bit of product, you saw in the picture how much I apply. One of these lasted for almost 3 months. So this is only my second container and I have used about this much. So in 3 months, using as much product as I have been using, I used 1 and about a quarter of these. So I will continue to use this and get back to you in about 3 months, and hopefully there will be a difference. Now, I would love to know, do you use Adipeau? Some of you have emailed me and said you do, and that you are actually seeing results. In fact, one of my viewers was kind enough to share her before and after pictures with us. And look at this. The difference is incredible. Now again, I realize the lighting is a bit off. My viewer is also not a professional photographer, but I do think even with the lighting being a bit off, you can see what an incredible difference Adipeau has made for her. The after picture was taken after using Adipeau for 3 months, and it was the only thing this viewer did differently in those 3 months. So looking at these incredible before and after pictures, I am hopeful that maybe in another 3 months, I will also be able to see a difference. So I would love to know, do you use it? Have you seen results? Please share down below. Ivan did offer us a discount code. So if this is something that has been working for you, or you have been curious, I will link the discount code down below. Any questions or comments, please leave them down below. You know, I always love to hear from you. I am really grateful Ivan came on the channel to answer our questions. So if you have any more questions for Ivan, please leave them down below as well. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for being here. Until next time, bye.